And we're just hoping for something really good from Atali, effectively. Okay, there's Mog Infestation. So blowing up all their creatures, giving them a bunch of goblins instead. This video is dedicated to Christian Roberts. Christian, thank you. Playing Christian Roberts' deck today, helmed by Kazuul, Tyrant of the Cliffs, up against Ardenn and Tymna, the first Sliver, and Derevi, Imperial Tactician. We have ourselves... if we had one more land, I wouldn't actually mind that. We could go tap land into a basic Sol Ring, crack this on turn 2. But we don't have another land, and if I keep this, we're not going to draw into one, because that's just the way that fate works. Okay, well, that's a more expensive hand, but we can do something on turn 2, at least. The only turn 1 play we see so far is from Gingerbrute, and that turning sideways towards the first Sliver. We have a mountain to play. We've got Chrome Mox here. We could exile a non-artifact from hand. Are we actually going to get up to the Hamlet back Goliath? I think it's worth going for Chrome Mox here and hope that we can go for some kind of 3-mana play on our next turn. So we'll exile that, go for the Swiftfoot Boots. And just like that, we've got pretty much nothing to do now. We can play the Helm of the Host at least. I'm not actually sure. This is a mono-red deck, because obviously we've got the Kazuul in our command zone. I'm not entirely sure what the command tower's in here for. There might be some kind of tech that I don't understand there, but I don't think so. Bant Panorama being played and cracked for Billy Kills, and then it is the first Sliver of the game, not the first Sliver the commander, but the first one being played is the Venom Sliver. That one gives Slivers Death Touch. And then the Gingerbrute comes in towards us this time after the partner player plays an Orzhov Signet. So it's another mountain for us, we'll drop that, and it's next turn we can play Helm of the Host, so absolutely nothing to do, we will pass. Actually a very low curve on this deck, but not doing too well on it thus far. A tapped Ondu Sky Ruins from Billy Kills, and he enchants that straight away with a Wild Growth. Billy Kills the only patron available to us this morning, so big thank you to him for playing and supporting the channel. Now the Venom Sliver going in at the partner player after the first Sliver has played Tempered Sliver. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, put a plus counter on it, so that is now a 2-2. It's Tymna the Weaver, the first commander of the game, and the Gingerbrute went in towards the first Sliver again, so going up to 4 cards in hand with Tymna. And that is round to our turn again. We get into Expedition Map. I think that's better than Helm of the Host here. Looking over at the deck list on my other screen, could go for Temple of the False God or Myriad Landscape. Well, we'll get down the Expedition Map either way. And yeah, probably, if we were going to go for Myriad Landscape, probably should have waited on that actually. Maybe Temple of the False God is better. The absolutely hated land. Everyone hates it for no other reason than that it's actually fashionable to hate, as far as I can tell. I don't actually play this all that often in decks, but whenever I do, it's actually usually better than it is bad. It's not to say that I play it all that often, but yeah, I'm very rarely burned by Temple of the False God. I usually draw it mid to late game, in which case it's just ramp on a land. So seeing as how we have the command tower in our possession, we'll go for the Temple of the False God. I actually would have played Myriad Landscape there if I'd planned the turn out better. Gonna have to be really careful with this coat of arms up against a Sliver player, because obviously it's really bad against tribal decks. Another enchantment, this time Fertile Ground, going on to the Ondu land. And using that to make Bant, so that gets Derevi, Imperial Tactician, into play, which will untap the land. And they tap that down again straight away for 3 mana, and that allows them to enchant another land in Weirding Wood. This one investigates when it enters, and it makes the land add 2 mana of any one colour. Now a Predatory Sliver from the Sliver player, just an Anthem effect, +1/+1. Seem to be very willing to dump their hand into play here, only 3 cards in hand, and that is another Anthem effect, this time on a white creature. So Death Touch on all of their stuff, and they will get plus counters whenever they hit. We get the Venom Sliver, and the plus counter Sliver goes in towards Derevi. Now seeing a Loyal Subordinate, don't see this one very often, a Menace with Lieutenant, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, each opponent loses 3 life. That is a 3-1. So obviously they do control their commander in Tymna. Going to deal 2 damage with Tymna to us, the Ginger Brute going in towards the Sliver player, who can't block it because they don't control a creature with haste. So going to be drawing 2 cards with their commander. So now it's round to our turn again, and alright, another mountain. So we'll play out the mountain, setting up for Temple of the False God next turn. So why don't we try and resist some of this damage that's coming in towards us? Are they going to have spot removal? If anyone has spot removal, I don't think they're going to be using it on our commander, so I think we're safe to get down our commander without the Swiftfoot Boots back up here. And hopefully this should dissuade people from swinging in towards us. Now seeing ourselves a reconnaissance mission from Billy Kills, as well as a Merfolk Windrobber. So, Flying Tribal maybe, is what our opponent's gone for here. Swinging in at the Sliver player with their commander. And that allows them to draw a card. They untap the land with their Derevi, which will tap for 3. And then just deciding to hold the mana up, so he might have Beast Within or Generous Gift, some means of removal. Worst case scenario, he just cracks the Croson Verge. Over to the Sliver player's turn. That's a really fun one. Collected Company, don't see that often in Commander. Only hitting 1 creature with it. That is a Crypt Sliver. So all Slivers can tap and regenerate themselves. I don't think they have... No, they don't have Vigilance on any of their stuff yet, so not as good as it could be. So everything apart from the Venom Sliver going in towards Billy Kills. The Venom Sliver is going in towards the Ardenn player, Ardenn Tymna, and he was holding up that Beast Within. So that goes on the Crypt Sliver. Might be that Billy Kills is looking forward to a board wipe here. And it looks as though the Kazuul has managed to hold people off swinging into us. These creatures hit and are all buffing themselves with plus counters, sending Billy Kills down to 22 already. Now we see the second commander from the partner player come down, Ardenn, Intrepid Archaeologist. And there's a Nim Deathmantle as well, which had its equip cost cheated. So Tymna, now a 4/4 zombie with lifelink, goes in towards the 3/3 beast token. The 3/1 goes in at Billy Kills, that has Menace, so yeah, certainly can't block that. Okay, and the Ginger Brute comes in towards us. So that will trigger the Kazuul. We get a free Ogre token. I mean, I'll take 1 damage for a free Ogre token, that is fine. So they went back up to 37 and then down by 3 to Tymna, and they have 7 cards in hand here. Okay, and there's an Aetherflux Reservoir. So, pretty much no matter what card we play here, let's go Temple of the False God. Pretty much no matter what card we play here, we're going to worry our opponents slightly, but does all the other stuff worry them even more? Yeah, let's go Helm of the Host before Aetherflux Reservoir, and then we'll go Swiftfoot Boots onto our commander as well, and I think it's just safe to hold back at that point. Billy Kills playing a Soulbond creature, and this one will give the Soul-Bonded creature flying, so 1/1 itself, and then they play a Shadow creature, so that gives this flying. It couldn't be blocked, thanks to Shadow anyway, most likely. But maybe just a bunch of weenies, like a small weenie flying deck, something like that. Anyway, cracking the Croson Verge as well will allow them to search up a couple of basics. And then going in with Derevi towards the middle player, the Sliver player, and then Tymna gets the 1/1 flyer. So that triggers Mill on the Merfolk Windrobber. The Derevi will untap some stuff. And the Reconnaissance mission will draw some cards as well, so they go up to 5 in hand and untap what will be 5 mana worth of lands, I think. And with that, they play themselves and equip a Viridian Longbow, which is 1 damage on any target. That is a tap ability, so obviously some shenanigans that can be done there, but we don't have that online just yet, I don't think. Spiteful Sliver now. Whenever this creature is dealt damage, it deals that much to a player or planeswalker. So yeah, the lack of board wipes has really allowed the Sliver player to go crazy here. And the Slivers keep almost swinging in towards us and then realising that that's not a good idea. So Kazuul really helping us here. Alright, deciding to swing in regardless. So we do get another Ogre here. That is the 6/6 Venom Sliver. Goes in towards the partner player. We get this 6/6. And then the other 2 Anthem Slivers, both 4/4s, go in towards the partner player as well. Do we want to block this thing? Yeah, we don't want to take... We're taking 6 damage either way. Is it worth getting rid of this and taking the 6 damage as well? Yeah, I think I'm going to use my 3/3 ogres to gang up on this thing, then they've got one less sliver that we need to deal with. I mean, we're looking forward to a board wipe here, I think, although it doesn't seem as though anyone actually wants to cast a board wipe. Everyone's just playing creatures into it. So if we end up taking 6 from this green sliver here, then, well, we were going to take 6 anyway, so we might as well get rid of it in the process. More plus counters getting distributed, and we did take the 6 direct damage, going down to 20. That's a scary one. A Fire Shrieker this time. Seems as though they're willing to make the Tymna into a Voltron commander. So Ardenn and Loyal Subordinate trigger at the beginning of the turn. Each opponent losing 3 life. And the Ardenn going to put the Fire Shrieker onto Tymna the Weaver. It does have Intimidate, so hopefully it doesn't come in towards us. Doesn't matter how many ogres we get if this thing has Intimidate. You would think they'd want to go over to the Sliver player more than anything though. Yep, so they do go in with their now 4/4 lifelink with Intimidate and Double Strike. And we get a 1/1 Ginger Brute in our way as well. 3/1 with Menace goes in towards Derevi. They can block that. They'll lose both the creatures in the process though. So Kazuul triggers. Unfortunately not with 2 copies of Kazuul thanks to Helm of the Host not being equipped. Looks like they might be forgetting about the fact that our Kazuul does have haste now though, so let's go for the Ginger Brute being blocked. Might be that they have some means of death touch on there, but I think it's more likely that they just forgot about Kazuul having haste now thanks to Swiftfoot Boots. So Ginger Brute does go down, that triggers the Nim Death Mantle. They can't afford the 4 mana to bring it back anyway. Still 7 cards in hand, so I wouldn't have thought they'd be too worried about that. Noteworthy that they're actually struggling on black mana over here, which might be relevant. So drawing a couple of cards there thanks to dealing that damage. Billy Kills decided to go down to 10 and take the 3. And they did get themselves into a swamp as soon as I say that. Now we're seeing Serra Ascendant. Thankfully they are not north of 30 life, so comes down as a 1/1 with lifelink. The Double Strike equipment cost being paid. And putting the Fire Shrieker onto the Ardenn, which is now a 2/2 with Double Strike. Round to our turn. Okay, Atali, Primal Storm, will drop the command tower. Really unfortunate that we're not managing to make use of the Helm of the Host, unfortunately. So it's pretty much a case of hoping for a land, maybe. Yeah, Atali's tempting, but I think we want to try and dissuade our opponents even more away from swinging in towards us, especially when our life total is teetering, so we'll go Helm of the Host onto our commander. Yeah, 1 more mana and we could have gone in for Aetherflux Reservoir as well. Anyhow, we'll pass through to combat and we will get a copy of Kazuul. So there we are, a non-legendary copy of Kazuul, and that means that we get 2 ogres per creature that swings into us, because I don't think anyone's going to be paying for the tax on that. And hopefully that buys us enough time to probably drop down, Aetherflux Reservoir. It's fairly low curve on this deck, so pretty unlucky that we're getting into the bigger spells here. Aetherflux Reservoir might have saved us here, but I'm not hopeful for it. There we go, the board wipe was going to come in eventually. Destroy all artifacts, creatures and enchantments, so we'll see if Billy Kills can protect his own board. He can with Heroic Intervention, so indestructible on all of his own stuff. And yeah, let's see the Sliver player come back from that. The Tymna player is going to really struggle as well. 7 cards in hand at least, but yeah, a lot of artifacts going down over there. So we'll put our commander back in the command zone. It's a shame to lose the haste on Swiftfoot Boots because Atali could have been really good there. And then turning all their creatures in sideways towards the Orzhov player. So yeah, there's the shenanigans with untapping stuff and drawing cards again. So Derevi untapping a bunch of lands as well as the Soltari Foot Soldier. 5 cards in Billy Kill's hand at the moment. Noteworthy that a Sword of Fire and Ice was milled by the Orzhov player as well, thanks to the Wind Robber. Might be that we see some mass reanimation from the Sliver player. There is black mana available. Instead it is a Brood Sliver. Whenever a Sliver deals combat damage to a player, its controller may play a 1/1 Sliver creature token. That might be relevant. Some of these Slivers are world abilities, so might be relevant with Atali if we manage to steal a Sliver or 2. Might be able to make our own tokens with this. Now we see a Court of Grace. Just bought one of these in paper for my Spirit Tribal deck. upgrading the precon, and a Starnheim Courser as well. Makes artifacts and enchantments cost 1 less. So Tymna the Weaver is the Monarch, of course. Just noticing that Ardenn is actually in the bin, so I wonder if there is a Sun Titan in hand over here. Anyway, they got 6 cards thanks to the Monarch. We draw into Grand Melee. All creatures attack each combat available. All creatures block each combat available. Yeah, much more useful when we've got our commander in play. So it's turn 7. I mean, do we just continue to set up and get our commander back into play again? Yeah, we'll get Kazuul back into play and try and dissuade this flying army from swinging in towards us. Really gonna miss the haste from the Swiftfoot boots. We see Azami, Lady of Scrolls, which cares about wizards. Not sure how many wizards they have in play. Yeah, not too many. Their commander's a wizard. They've got the Wingcrafter, a wizard. Also played the Prodigal Sorcerer. That can deal 1 damage to any target. More useful with Azami, I would imagine. So the Merfolk goes in down the middle. Derevi goes in at the middle as well. So does this 1/1. And then the Shadow Creature going in at Tymna the Weaver. Then Azami, Lady of Scrolls, will tap down and draw a card for Billy Kills. And all that stuff lands, so it's untaps and draws yet again. So going up to 10 cards in hand, Billy Kills did untap Azami a few times and tapped it down again there. And they are, of course, the Monarch now, so no infinite hand size for them. So they go up to 11 with the Monarchy, and they will have to discard down to hand size. Guardian Project from the Sliver player, down to 1 card and 9 life. They also went after Derevi with the Swords to Plowshares. So Derevi down to Swords to Plowshares, Azami still in play unfortunately, and then swung in with their Sliver to the currently tapped out Billy Kills, so drawing a card with the Monarchy. Azami now activating at the beginning of the Orzhov player's turn, and tapping down the Prodigal Sorcerer, a spirit token made by the Court of Grace for Tymna the Weaver. Our life total's looking a bit too high apparently, so the Starnheim Courser swings in towards us. They do have their Tymna the Weaver in play now as well. And they do, of course, draw a card from Tymna. I've been pronouncing this Prodigal. Is it Prodigal? Is that how you say it? Prodigal doesn't sound right, because you say Prodigy, don't you? But I think it's actually Prodigal. Either way, I don't know how you pronounce that. That is a Dream Stealer from the Orzhov player. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, they discard that many cards, and it has Eternalize. Okay, so now we get ourselves a Tempt with Vengeance. Yeah, we don't have enough mana for all this big stuff, really. It's been a bit too slow for us. So we'll just have to continue to set up. I mean, feels weird saying that on turn 8, but that's what we're doing. We'll go for Etali, and then we can try and take the Monarchy away from the Sliver player. I dare say that they just block with that Sliver, but that makes them more wide open to other attacks at least. So yeah, throwing their Sliver token away immediately. That just means that Billy Kills is more likely to swing something in towards him as well. 1 damage going on to us from the Saltari Foot Soldier. Not as useful now that the Derevi isn't in play. Also, Billy Kills has played Archivist, which is tap and draw a card. They can do that anyway with the Azami in play. And Derevi coming back down into play. Don't forget you can cheat the mana cost with Derevi, thanks to that ability. So Derevi comes down, untaps the Saltari Foot Soldier, and then pings us for 1 again. This got tapped down and pinged the Orzhov player for 1, and then tapping this down for a card draw to Azami. 8 cards in Billy Kills' hand and 9 life. Then the 2/1/1 flyers go in down the middle at the Sliver player, so stealing the Monarchy away from the Sliver player. And Derevi going to untap the 2 pingers, then tapping down the Foot Soldier, pinging the Orzhov player yet again, and doing exactly the same thing with the Prodigal Sorcerer. Samai Archer, another one, deal 1 damage to any target, so an unusual Bant pinger list. You'd obviously expect that in red nowadays, but there was a time where they gave blue this ability. And a Mist-Cloaked Herald as well, which is a 1/1 unblockable. Just looking through the deck list, there's actually no board wipe in here. You'd expect Blasphemous Act and Ugin and Chain Reaction, stuff like that. We actually don't have anything like that in this deck, no Vandal Blast or anything, so we're reliant on the other 2 players to wipe the board if the board is to be wiped at all. And there we see the first Sliver, so that will come down with Cascade. Not going to chain off while it's not in play. While the first Sliver's in play, if you have it on the board and then play another sliver, it can cascade into another sliver, another sliver, another sliver, and just go down the chain like that. Only going to cascade once here though. Oh wow, and that is into a sliver that gives all sliver creatures haste. They are drawing cards from the Guardian Project as well. That is on creatures entering. And the sliver player just going all in at Billy Kills. Highly doubt that he's going to get any damage through here, but could encourage some creatures to go down here. I imagine he can throw away his Derevi quite freely as well, thanks to it cheating command attacks. So that goes under the other commander. Azami gets thrown in the way of the 3-3, so allowing a 1-1 sliver to come through. And then tapping down at both the creatures to Azami to draw before it goes down to the creatures. So the sliver player steals away the monarchy, and the brood sliver will make a 1-1 token. So that means that at their end step they do draw a card, going up to 5 in hand. Court of Grace continuing to trigger for the Orzhov player. We'll get them into a spirit. Tymna trying to spread the damage around as much as possible. We are being attacked, so Kazuul will trigger. Might be that they're trying to hold up the Vault of the Archangel here, although I don't think there's that many decent blocks anyway. So we get the Starnheim Courser 2-2 flyer in towards us. A 1-1 spirit at Billy Kills. A 1-2 in towards the sliver player. So they will steal the monarchy here, because the 1-2 does have menace. The Dream Stealer is going to encourage the sliver player to discard a card here as well. So they just discard a land, and Tymna the Weaver continuing to keep the Orzhov player in cards, drawing up to 10 in hand. A Smothering Tithe now from Tymna, and then a Duelist's Heritage. So you would assume that they've just drawn into that. Then they have regained the monarchy, so they draw a card at the end of the turn. We draw a card during our draw step, of course, so not going to pay into the Smothering Tithe, just got into a mountain. Now, do we go for Tempt with Vengeance? There's every chance that we could take a player out here if at least one of them says yes. Problem is they might be able to get us on the swing back, especially this player. So I think we just have to try and rely on a Tali here. Do we cast with a Tali? You may cast any number of spells from amongst them, so we're probably best going Aetherflux Reservoir before that. Oh, and I overpaid for that feels bad. So do we go for the Grand Melee? Yeah, screw it. It could bite us, but we'll go for Grand Melee as well. So we gain a life from the Aetherflux Reservoir straight away. And let's see if we just hit lands with a Tali. Don't mind going for the enchantment before we swing in with a Tali, because I think Billy Kills is going to block here anyway. Okay, so forcing Billy Kills to block here. They should probably go Duelist's Heritage onto a 3-3. And then, yeah, that's exactly what they should do. So it's likely that we can get rid of Billy Kills here. And we're just hoping for something really good from a Tali, effectively. Okay, there's Mog Infestation. And we have a Fairy Seer as well. So let's go for casting a Fairy Seer. And then destroying all the creatures a player controls. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. We're getting rid of Billy Kills anyway, so we're best going after the Orzhov player, I think. We will gain life from the Aetherflux Reservoir, casting these spells as well. So jumping up to 21 is a little bit better than the small life total that we were at. So blowing up all their creatures, giving them a bunch of goblins instead. And then Scry, we've got Loxodon Warhammer, Battle Hymn. Yeah, we don't actually have all that many creatures, unfortunately. So I think we can scry that one to the bottom. Loxodon Warhammer, do I particularly care about? I don't think I do. So we'll put that on the bottom as well. So making the correct blocks in blocking our commander and the Atali. And that means that 9 damage will go straight through to Billy Kills thanks to the double strike. And our opponents are going to be forced into attacks, don't forget. So knocking kills down to -2. And it's just fingers crossed that we can survive until our next turn now. All relies on keeping our commander in play, really. Well, alright, there is Path to Exile. That comes from the Sliver player. Goes on to a Tali and not our commander at least. We will certainly fetch up a land with that. There's every chance that the Orzhov player has removal as well. And then a Bonescythe Sliver, giving all the Slivers double strike. They've been doing pretty well on the Slivers that they've been drawing into here. That will cascade as well, thanks to the first Sliver, so we might see a chain of cascades here, if they keep hitting Slivers. Well, unfortunately not. It is the new Guardian Augmenter, So +2/+2 on your commander, and hexproof on your commander as well. That does trigger the Guardian Project, so they draw a card, feed into the Smothering Tithe. And now we see ourselves an Aven Mind Sensor coming in with Flash from the Orzhov player. These creatures are going to be forced to attack, don't forget. Then going for Muscle Sliver as well, that cascaded, yeah, that's another Anthem effect, cascaded into the Sol Ring this time. Well, looks like we've got a bunch of stuff coming in towards us. So, Duelist Heritage being pointed at the 4/4 Brood Sliver. And we're getting a bunch of Kazuul Tyrant Ogres. Yeah, this coat of arms has been a real dead card in this game. We've obviously given our opponent a bunch of Goblin tokens. So coat of arms not much good there, and then we're against a tribal deck as well. Duelist Heritage going on to the Brood Sliver, but doesn't really matter because they all have double strike anyway. So we're just blocking everything here, I think. Yeah, just going to block everything apart from, I think I will double block on the double striking Sliver. Yeah, it's risky to take 4 when we're on the board state that we're on, but I think the Orzhov player is going to be able to do something here anyway. I have a feeling that they're going to be able to remove Kazuul out of the way and then turn sideways at us, something like that. Although the Sliver player, yeah, the Sliver player being left pretty vulnerable here though, thanks to our enchantment. So we go down to 17, get rid of some Slivers in the process, and the Brood Sliver is going to make 2 Sliver tokens there. Court of Grace getting another spirit into play. Oh, and it wasn't a spirit, it was a 4/4 angel because they are the monarchs, so yeah, getting a 4/4 angel into play, playing Tashar, Ancestor's Apostle as well. And now playing the Mask of Ancestry, so that is the loot one. Yeah, draw 2 and discard. And Tashar will get to fish something out of the bin here. They went for Loyal Subordinate with the Tashar, deciding not to go for their commander, which is currently trapped in the graveyard. I'm guessing it's Tashar that they had in hand as opposed to Sun Titan when they threw that in the bin. And then a Herald of Anguish. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent discards a card. You can sack an artifact and a target creature gets -2/-2, so I don't think they can afford to do that to our commander, thankfully. Oh, that's excellent. All the goblins going in towards the Sliver player, because obviously they don't want to be swinging those in towards us. The Aven Mind Sensor is swinging in towards us though, so Kazuul will make an Ogre for us. Duelist Heritage going on to the 2/1 flyer, so that's actually 4 damage being dealt to us in the air. And obviously we can't block that. Okay, and is Grand Melee bugged here? It says all creatures block each combat if able. This can't block because it doesn't have reach. This still has flying, doesn't it? Yeah. Oh wow, his Magic Online just balked. So we'll quit there. I think it's safe to say that we weren't going to win that one anyway. We'll have to take Grand Melee out of the deck, and it's a shame because that is a... yeah, that's a really relevant card in that deck. Apologies that we couldn't get anything going with it. I'll just have a quick look at the deck list here, actually. Yeah, so you can look through this yourself in the description if you want to. It is distinctly lacking in removal, both in creatures and artifacts. And it's very, very lacking in card draw as well. Of all the games that I played, I was very much struggling on keeping cards in my hand, which can be a struggle in red, but it's actually not as much of a struggle as it used to be. You can get card draw in red nowadays. It's absolutely possible. So if Christian wants to improve the deck any, then those are the areas that I would focus on. Hopefully you all enjoyed it regardless, and I will see you all in the next one, I hope. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.